Hello and welcome to the Absolute Business Success Show with me, Carol Evans, your business consultant and coach. I've worked in business all my adult life and set up and run a number of my own businesses over the last 15 years. In this show, I'd like to share with you the tips and strategies that have helped me create success in my business and life, as well as those in my clients. In this series, I'm going to be interviewing women who inspire and asking why she does what she does. If you want full inspiration, then why not hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out? And if you'd like even more information, then why not head over to my website at consultancyandcoaching.co.uk. Here you'll find lots of wonderful freebies that'll help you make the progress you desire. Now, let's get started. Hello, I'm delighted to be talking to Nathalie Moreau today, a professional in the corporate world by day, but shortly to be joining a really incredible mission. So hello Nathalie and welcome, and thank you so much for joining me today and offering us some incredible inspiration. Would you like to give us a little bit of information about your mission?
Yes. Hi, Carol. Thank you for inviting me on your show.
Pleasure.
Yes, I will be joining a part of a round the world sailing expedition that's actually started early this month of October. Going to go around the world in 2 years, and I'm doing a leg of that at the end of November through to December. And that expedition has got a couple of very unique aspects. The first one is that it's a woman-only expedition. So there are 30 voyages, and on each voyage there will be 10 woman crew joining an all-woman team. So there is a woman captain, a woman first mate, and a woman mission scientific lead, mission leader kind of person. And then 10 women volunteer coming in each leg. My leg is leg 4, which will be going from Antigua in the Caribbean to Bonaire and then on to Aruba, and those are just the Caribbeans just outside of Venezuela. And the purpose of the expedition is very much to raise awareness about the plastics in the oceans. But the angle is very much on woman's body, how the plastics and the toxins do affect the hormones, and of course, being woman, how you might pass that to your children. So the focus is very much on the science behind the effect on plastic on the woman's body, and very much around trying to find solutions that the 300 women who will join across the 2 years will be able to think of and then take back into their lives, whichever they come from.
Sounds absolutely incredible and really, really fascinating to hear the scientific side of it. You know, that plastics has become kind of a really major topic for most people, but I think people are only really just starting to think about what it actually means for them and their bodies. And as you just said, you know, as a woman, the fact that you're then, what are you passing on to your children? And so it's a lot more than just about kind of the oceans being filled with plastic, but what this actually means to us as humans and how
what's the impact? What's the impact down the line? And so like you say, Carol, the awareness of people is quite high in the UK, in Europe. It's not the same everywhere in the world.
No.
The voyage is very much aiming to touch every single continent and country. So the 300 women do come from all over the world. So there's a degree of awareness that differs from country to country and continent to continent. But The idea behind doing some scientific research is that awareness is good, but scientific research will really help to influence politicians, policymakers, and the big corporate industries that ultimately do produce a lot of goods in plastics, being food, toiletries, and all that. So awareness of the public is there, it's starting to grow and it's growing, but it's through real research and data that there will be an opportunity to influence the people who can make change on a huge scale, much bigger than just us as people.
Yeah. And is it a UK-based project? Is it originated from the UK, or is it American, or is it a mixture of all nationalities that are part? I know you're going to raise awareness across the world, but is it a mix of nationalities on the voyage?
So on the voyage, yes, absolutely. There are the 300 women do come from absolutely everywhere, and on my leg, the 10 women. There are people from America, Asia, from the Caribbean, from Canada, and of course from England and from Europe. It's originated in the UK,
Okay.
And the founder of this company, it's not a profit company, it's a non-profit company, but the founder is actually a woman who was traveling to Australia, architect by trade, and went for a swim in the middle of the Pacific Ocean and just ended up having plastics all over her, and that was miles and miles away from any coast. And that's how it started for her, this kind of journey 12 years ago.
Wow.
She then founded, so she founded Exxpedition. The X stands for the chromosome X that's in the woman's body. She founded Exxpedition and started doing some all-woman expeditions on a very, very small scale. Mm-hmm. Part of the expeditions were also to test the toxin in the body, and that's where they realized that they had a big proportion of toxins in the body that are toxins that are not good for the body.
And they knew that it had come from the plastics.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's the source of it. Yeah.
That's incredible, that is, because I read about that and I just couldn't believe it, because you hear all the time about what you're putting onto your skin, what you're putting into your body, but nobody really has come up with any evidence so far. So those blood test results are really fascinating.
It's really important, and we now know that the fish, a lot of the fish are contaminated, the birds are contaminated, the rain, so everything around us has got traces of plastics, hence why the toxins have entered the body. And that's the driver behind the Exxpedition. So just to come back to her, and her name is Emily Penn. She's done a few small expeditions, and this one around the world, 2 years. That's a massive enterprise. That's been several years in the planning. Started a couple of weeks ago.
It's just amazing, and it's just so important. And so how did you get involved then, Nathalie?
Well, it was a bit of a coincidence, really, because I don't tend to watch TV in the morning because I'm busy getting ready for work.
Yeah.
And it was about a year ago, just before Christmas, and I was staying in a hotel and there feeling a bit lonely, so I put morning TV on. And there was Emily talking about announcing the round the world voyage, and saying that women can apply. And at first I thought, like, surely I didn't hear this well, didn't hear properly. The main attraction for me was the sailing originally, just because that's something I know and something I do, something I love. Then the fact that it was an all-woman enterprise, it just resonated with me, because where I work in the corporate world, it's still very, very male oriented. So I just thought, anything to do with bringing women together and showing the power of what women can do.
Yeah.
That's kind of, whet my appetite.
I bet.
Then And then I looked into it, and obviously was very aware of the plastics, as most people are, not to the level that I am now aware of, since I've done a lot more research into it. And just decided to apply. And the application process took probably a good 6 months or so, and around just before the summer, I was offered it's a huge privilege. I was offered the chance to join on one leg. Apparently, there were more than 10,000 women who applied.
Wow, God, that's amazing.
Yeah, and there's still applications going through. So if some people are interested, there's still voyages, because they've only filled the first, I think, 18 legs out of 30. So there are still opportunity for people to join if they're interested.
Yeah, I mean that's an incredible process to go through, Nathalie, and congratulations on being a few out of 10,000 people. That is just incredible. So,
well, thank you. I think.
Sorry, go on.
Just, I guess what's interesting is that there's no prerequisite about who you need to be to join. So you don't need to be a scientist. You don't need to be a sailor. What you need to do, you need to be a woman. That's one thing. But apart from that, it's very much what you will contribute as an individual. And the bringing the 10 women together on each leg is actually very carefully curated, so that it's a mix of experience, skill set, nationalities, backgrounds, everything, so that you mix people together on a boat, and that should generate a lot of ideas, because you have people coming from very different horizons. So they refer to a superpower. So everybody's got a superpower, and it's how you bring that out as part of another of a group of 10 people, and together generate something, and ideas and solutions and all that.
That's just incredible, really. As a woman who promotes other women in business, I can totally relate to how they've curated those teams of people, because that is the key to success in any organisation, isn't it? And
absolutely.
One of my questions to you is going to be about kind of how challenging do you think it will be actually on board when you put a group of women together? Because, we've all been in situations where we've been in groups of women that haven't been the most helpful and accommodating. So obviously the interview process has kind of sussed that out in advance, I guess, around personalities and so on. But we'll see challenges in that.
Yeah, very much. And I think, the expectations are set very, very clearly. So everybody is there to work. It's not a holiday. And everybody needs to contribute. And so the main thing, of course, is the science and the research that will take place whilst on the boat. So the boat is equipped with scientific research tools. So everybody needs to contribute to that. But of course, it's also life on a boat. So you need to help with the sailing of the boat. You need to be on watch. So there is a watch rota. I need to clean, to cook for everybody. So it's really much of a team effort. The expectations are very, very clear. And I think it will take a certain type of woman to be prepared to do that. Prepared to, probably not shower for a few days in a row, and not being able to, to do normal things, but hopefully it will just be people gelling through that unique experience, and then the purpose of doing something right and something good for the future and the generations to come.
Yeah, I mean, it's just such an amazing opportunity that you're part of it, but just so incredible that it's happening, you know, and what's going to come out of it. And hopefully, as you say, by being able to provide the scientific evidence will help change minds in the highest places, you know, for the people who can actually make the decisions and change it. So you said about the sailing aspect was the first thing that got you interested.
Yes.
Tell me about you and sailing then, and what kind of training or preparation have you had to do prior to joining the mission?
Yes, well, so sailing is a love affair for me. Since when I was young, and actually when I was a student, I started sailing and sailed a lot in France, on the west coast, but very small boats, small catamarans, small dinghies. But I've always loved sailing. I came to the UK and then actually live right in the middle of the UK, so there's no sea.
Yeah,
but
we're very landlocked here in the Midlands.
Very much so. I got a little boat that I was sailing when I first arrived in the UK. And I had to give it up when I got pregnant with my first son. Mm-hmm. So I was without sailing for a good 18 years.
Wow.
And I started again 3 years ago. Started sailing again. It's in a reservoir because again too far from the sea. Yeah. Small boat, 2 people boat. So it's something I absolutely adore. I find it interesting, challenging. I find it clears my mind. It's you know, at the weekend after a busy week at work, it's an absolutely joy to do that. So yes, I do sail. However, this is a completely different experience. This is a 70-foot boat. So it's a proper boat, proper yacht. And in terms of the actual sailing experience, it's not a prerequisite. So I've got some basics. I understand the winds and I understand how it basically works, but I will be learning as we go on the boat. So as I said before, there is a captain and a first mate, and everybody else is helpers really. So we will all learn. But in terms of preparation, what I've wanted to do is to just really enjoy it fully and wanted to be fit to do it. Yeah. And I also wanted to have the strength to do it, because it will be tough physically. I'll be short of sleep and you know, working hard. So over the last 3 months, I've gone on to more of a fitness regime to be fit and healthy to take that on, and not to be constrained really by my own body. I just want to be able to enjoy it and contribute fully. Yeah. So that's been kind of a life change in itself already.
That's really good, that is, isn't it? So you've got kind of the excitement and challenge of the actual mission, but also the preparation, just so that you can just fully immerse yourself in the whole experience and actually enjoy it and be in the best health possible.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the other part of the preparation is also what I've learned around plastics. So you know, I've read a lot, and I've created my own website to try to share what I've learned, and you know, starting to use. So even creating a website was a completely new enterprise for me, and then starting to use different tools for social media to spread the message. So preparation is in that sense as well. I've had to learn new skills and contribute from before I even go, contributing trying to start sharing the message. When I come back, I also intend to do that, to do talks. That would be with support of materials, photos and films and all that, which will, and also be able to express my really personal experience and first-hand experience of what I've seen there and what, you know, the actual status of plastics in the oceans.
It sounds just like you're so full of passion and purpose, and it's something that I'm truly passionate about in terms of like women generally, that, you know, we get to a stage in life where we've worked really, really hard, we've provided for our families and our children, and I don't know if the timing of this coincides in the same way for you, but when my son was getting to a certain age and becoming more independent, and I was less involved in his life, you know, I was really kind of like, well, what can I do that has more meaning for me, you know, so I don't kind of miss that role that I've played in his life. You know, I need to do something that has more meaning for me. And you're coming in with such passion and purpose, like it's just so meaningful for you at the time.
Well, yes, and you're right. There is a lot of that. I think there is the fact that, you know, the children have grown, so there is an opportunity to do that when I can actually be away for you know, for
as much as you would have done when they were young.
Exactly, and it's an opportunity to do it. It's also obviously it's a time in life where the kids are growing up and, you know, brought up a family, built a career, and it's like a little bit about giving back now, giving something back to the world. And those kind of thoughts are coming in my mind a little bit, and I guess as a mum, when you've got kids, and then now kids who might have kids in the future, all these things are actually quite important and a little bit scary. So yeah, I think it's the right time for me from a career, family perspective to do that. I need the support of people around me though, because you know, it's something that's taken a lot of my time just to prepare, and then I'm going to be away. It's been very consuming, but everyone around me is really proud and supporting me to do it. So that's also invigorating.
Yeah, and it's kind of a recognition of everything you've contributed all through your life to all those people too, isn't it? That, you know, they are now supporting, not that they haven't supported you, but they are supporting you doing something that has such meaning and purpose for you. And it's recognition and reward for kind of how much, you know, you've done and worked. You know, all your life. Just going back to the plastic side, Nathalie, you know, you said you'd done a lot of research and found out a lot of things about plastic along the way. What are a couple of kind of like the worst things that you found about plastic in carrying out your research? What would shock us?
Well, yes, I mean, it might be something that's widely known, but when you think about the fact that the ocean it links everybody, we need it to survive. But there is not a remote part of any ocean that is plastic free. There is you know, the fish that live in the oceans, the birds that feed on the fish, everything is linked by this problem of the plastic. So we know it's a problem, but I think it's the extent of that problem. And where I was also very shocked is I had heard about the plastic soup, in the middle of the ocean, but this is effectively, it's like a condensation of all plastics that gets together because of the currents. But it's the size of like 6 times the UK in the middle of the ocean, and it's just like a plastic. It's called a garbage patch, and that's the shocking thing. But then you can get really inspired because a young inventor from Holland, I believe, has come up with a solution to start actually picking up that plastic. And it will take years because there's so much of it. Yeah. But there's actually innovation and tools that are being developed to try to pick up what's there, what's in the ocean. And you realize that the oceans are in a horrendous state. And the only way to really tackle this is, of course, clean up the ocean, and there's initiatives to do that, but stopping it at source. Because if we keep putting things through, there's more and more people in the planet, and if we keep adding things there, it's only going to go one way.
But it's just crazy, isn't it? You know, and I know this has been on TV not too long ago, but all the plastic in supermarkets, you know, when you go in there and, you know, you see like 6 apples in a plastic bag, you know, bananas wrapped in bags, you know, even tins of tuna, you know, wrapped in bags. You know, what is wrong with us picking the number of items that we want, you know? And yes. I cannot understand how producers and manufacturers can package these goods and charge a cheaper price, because the cost of putting a bit of plastic around them is adding to the cost. So it should be more expensive, as well as all the damage, obviously, that it's causing. But it's just absolutely crazy, isn't it? There's just so much plastic out there that is just so unnecessary.
But I think the problem with plastic is it is a great material, you know. It's really cheap. Well, exactly, and it's cheap, it's light, but the problem is once it's there, it doesn't go. And the pressure that consumers can put on supermarket, and there is movement. Obviously, there was the 5p on the bags a few years ago, and there are more and more movements around, you know, not providing plastics or bring your own container. But it's the pressure that as consumers we can put on these big retailers, and it comes back to the point around. Ultimately, it's the policymakers that you know, need to decide that they want to do something very significant there. Like the 5p plastic bag tax, that was something that actually changed everybody's mentality. And you need to do more. Whatever it's a plastic coffee cup that you get from a coffee shop, or all these things is, you know, the way to change the mindset of the big corporate is probably to change the laws or to impose some tax.
Yeah, and I just couldn't believe as well, I was doing this quiz, I think it was actually on Facebook, and it was asking you kind of like, you know, multiple choice about where you thought hidden plastic was. And it said, you know, like even the seal on a tea bag has got plastic in it, you know. So, and I love my Yorkshire tea, but the thought that tea bag has been sealed using some kind of plastic, you know, you kind of like think, is there a need for that? You know, so
and that makes it much harder to recycle. If it's materials that have been mixed together, it's actually much harder to recycle as well. So it might look like, you know, this coffee cup looks like card, but it's not card. It's card with a plastic film inside. And that means you can't separate this again, and you can't recycle it.
It's, well,
there's a lot to do.
Sorry?
There is a lot to do.
I think there's a lot to do, and I think, as you say, there's a lot of the population putting pressure on governments, but there's still a lot of persuasion to do of the people as well, to refuse to buy goods that are unnecessarily covered in plastic. You know, stop buying the easy packets of apples and bananas and so on, you know, just pick them loose. You know, I think there's a lot of that to be done, as well as the big cleanup. And I presume that you've got the ear of the powers that be in the UK already in terms of the expedition. So hopefully fast track into providing the scientific evidence when the mission is over.
Yes, so it's all the whole research program has been put together by 3 universities, and one of them is in the UK. It's the University of Plymouth. So via those people, that's where you get to the big influences. There's also a university in Georgia in the state, and Hawaii as well. So there's more than the UK to consider here. But absolutely, it's around putting that research together and then looking at what it's telling us, and then making a case to influence the right people to do that.
Well, Nathalie, I think you've got yourself involved in the most incredible mission, and, you know, one that has got such an incredible purpose, you know, that will kind of hopefully have effects, you know, for generations, you know, in terms of what the outcome that you'll get. So can you tell us where people can find out more about the voyage, and most importantly where they can go and fund you, because obviously this mission is presumably very expensive and you must be reliant on people actually sponsoring you. So give us the URL that we can go and look up to be able to give you some money to help the mission happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I've got a GoFundMe page where people can generously donate if they want to. Under GoFundMe, the page is called Ocean Plastic Awareness Voyage 2019. Okay. And that would be amazing, and thank you if anyone wants to contribute. Like I said, the Exxpedition is non-profit. It's a charitable organization, and of course funds are really important. It's what makes it happen. Yeah. The actual website for Exxpedition might be of interest to people if they want to apply, or if they want to track the boat, because there is a tool to track the boat over the next 2 years, or read about it, or know a little bit more. Mm-hmm. And that's simply X with 2 X's, so Exxpedition.com, easy. Okay. And like I said, I have done my own website, but the title is far too long to remember. So
we'll put that in the bio so people can follow your page as well. So
there you go.
I'll put that link and put it in the text that accompanies the video. So please support Nathalie and the mission. It's just so important. And that sponsorship page is GoFundMe Ocean Plastic Awareness Voyage 2019, and the website for tracking the boat and finding out more information, or applying if you want to, if you've been inspired by Nathalie. I know I have, but I recognise my limitations. So is Exxpedition.com. So Nathalie, thank you so much for joining me today. I've just been absolutely fascinated by what you're doing, and so inspired, and I'm sure you'll inspire lots of other women out there to follow their passions, and also, as you say, to find a way of giving back, which is just so important.
Yeah, well, thank you for asking me to join, Carol. It's been a pleasure, and I hope that someone out there will find this inspiring, helpful and useful. So thank you very much.
I'm sure they will. And the other thing is as well, once the expedition is back and you have all your research and reports, we'd love to have you back again and talk through some of your findings. So I hope you'll join us again.
That's a date. We're on.
Thanks very much, Nathalie, and have a good evening.
Thank you, you too. Bye, Karen. Bye!
Thank you so much for watching this episode, which I sincerely hope you found both beneficial and enjoyable. Now don't forget to head over to my website at consultancyandcoaching.co.uk and download the freebies there. Stay tuned for the next episode. Now go out there and create great success.